I sometimes think I believe too much in people, or at least I've been told that, but I'm just used to fighting. I'm used to fighting for LGBT equality. I'm used to fighting for our representation in media. I fought the fight my whole life, being bullied in middle school and high school, being marginalized now as an adult, and I fight the fight in order to educate. But sometimes I realize that even in the places where I think that I am the most safe, sometimes there are homophobic people that dwell and just wait for the right moment to say something unbelievably unsettling or disrespectful. And recently this has happened to me in the Godzilla fandom, and I really shouldn't be surprised because honestly I have faced a lot of homophobia from other people in the Godzilla fandom as long as I've been a fan and as long as I've been on the internet. But when I was in middle school and high school, and I've told you guys this before, you know that Godzilla was an escape for me. I would escape through watching the movies, reading fan fiction, listening to the soundtracks. I felt safe in that franchise in a way, and in those characters. But as I started branching into the online environment, I realized that I was being made fun of for being gay, that people would make fun of me for loving Mothra. They would call me gay for loving Mothra. Or they'd be like, well, that's girly, that's stupid. And I faced a lot of backlash when I was a teenager. And I figured that as I would grow older, that the fandom would grow as well, because a lot of these people that were giving me this type of backlash, they were around my age. But as of recent events, I've kind of discovered that that is not the case, and the reason why I'm talking about this in this video is because a few days ago there was a very unsettling conversation that I was a part of on a Godzilla Facebook group. A friend of mine named Killer Rodan posted a video titled, "Why Not Have an LGBT Main Character in a Godzilla Film?" And of course, as you might imagine, it received a lot of negative feedback. It received some positive feedback, but the amount of negative feedback that it received also alarmed me too. There were people commenting like, nobody cares about this. Like, nobody wants to know about who has sex with who. Like, quit making it about the sex. It's about the monsters brawling. Or this is stupid, ridiculous. So I decided to comment, because when I see people making statements like that, instead of choosing to be a bystander, I choose to put my thoughts out there for the sake of hopefully perpetuating some sort of education or creating some sort of conversation that helps people realize that, we should be represented too. So I commented, as a gay Godzilla fan, that would be monumental for us. The fact that some of you are making haphazard references to Brokeback Mountain is reason enough to have more LGBT representation in horror films. Believe me, that movie does not represent us at all. There are a lot of young LGBT Godzilla fans out there who would benefit from being able to see someone like them in these films, and if you think there aren't any people out there who care, well, I'm here to say that there is at least one. That'd be me. I've spent the majority of my life in the Godzilla fandom having homophobic slurs thrown at me by other fans, so I'm thinking it could use a little bit of education on diversity. Now, I know that a lot of Godzilla fans are going to sit and say, oh, well, why would we make it about that anyway? And I'm not saying that we would be making it about the gay character. Like, okay, the movie would not obviously revolve around the fact that, oh, this person loves other men, or oh, this woman loves other women. I'm saying to have it in the background, to have it be present, to have it be normalized, because that is how things are today socially. It is 2018. Having LGBT people in our lives, having people dear to you who are LGBT is pretty commonplace. Why would we not see that in films like this as well? Like, I kind of feel like horror films are like the last boundary that we need to breach as LGBT people. And I often find that Godzilla fans are extremely resistant to the whole thought. And I, of course, received some very troubling comments. One comment that I received is, and I'm going to read it to you. This person said, "Nobody cares who you want to swing from chandeliers with. Nobody cares, and nobody gives you a hard time when you keep your sexy details to yourself." Learn a little discretion and respect for others' preference to not want to hear about your urges. This exemplifies the selfishness when you want others to get on your bandwagon when nobody is interested. Monsters, aliens, robots, successful recipe, don't mess with it. And of course that comment was pretty much the proving my point of what I said in my post. The fact that people think that, you know, by having LGBT representation, we're imposing our urges, our sexual deviance on them, when truthfully, as LGBT people, every single day we see heterosexuality represented everywhere, and we do not complain about it, because why would we? Why should anybody complain about the representation of other people? This is just lack of education, you know? And as much as this person frustrated me, I realized that this person thinks this way because he's been taught to think this way. And I think that we need to start having more conversations. That's why I'm calling out the Godzilla fandom right now. There are gay people a part of your fandom. There are LGBT people a part of the fandom. You have to accept us as well, because we are human beings. This is 2018. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that Godzilla has nothing to do with LGBT stuff, well, I'm going to tell you that, you know, Godzilla does have a lot to do with at least persevering and overcoming obstacles. If you look at the original movie, for example, it was all about overcoming trauma. It was all about overcoming the woes of World War. It was all about people finding the strength to cope with something, which is something that LGBT people do every single day. So why shouldn't we be part of that too? Times are changing. And people will sometimes tell me, Donny, well, just ignore those people, or Donny, pick your battles. You know what? The battles I've never picked, they've always come to me, because it's other people who are the ones who are always uncomfortable, not me. And I refuse to be the bystander that sits and lets people make harmful comments toward others. I see this every day, like toward other LGBT people in the fandom. I see people on a regular basis, largely men in the fandom, like sexualizing and discriminating against female fans. It's not acceptable. It's time to grow up. And it's time to take responsibility for that type of behavior. And if you don't take responsibility for it, well, you can bet your ass I'm going to call it out. Because somebody has to. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comment section below. Even if you disagree with me, I like to have a good conversation. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and check out my outro for other videos or playlists that you may find interesting. Thank you, and you guys have a good night.